Greetings, UAW sisters and brothers. John Kiel here, your host of 862 Live, the official podcast of UAW Local 862 in Louisville, Kentucky. Today, we're in beautiful Lebanon, Tennessee, the home of UAW Region 8. And today, I'm delighted to have with us on the program retired UAW International Representative Tom Savage. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John, for having me, and I'm excited about the opportunity to have a conversation with you and to participate in your podcast in regards to Black History Month. Thank you for having me. Welcome to Middle Tennessee.
Well, thank you. It's beautiful here, and we appreciate you being here, Tom, as part of our continuing coverage of Black History Month. So, can you tell us how are you currently involved in the UAW? What's your current role?
Oh, well, I'm a retired international representative, but I will tell you this. Once a union member, always a union member. It's basically in our DNA. And so we're always active. I serve as the first vice president, the vice president for the East Tennessee International Area Retiree Council. And there, the UAW is such an outstanding organization. When people retire in a certain area, they make sure that you're politically astute and that you participate. They provide a building where you can help retirees who may have insurance issues, a meeting place for them. We have an office that we man, and retirees come in and out and call us, and we help them with their problems. And of course, once a month we have great potluck. So I serve as the vice president of the East Tennessee Retiree Council, but I also make sure that I participate in other organizations to highlight the UAW in any and everything that I do. So I'm knee deep with the UAW, and I guess I'll be this way until the good man upstairs calls me home.
Well, there you go. Okay. Where are you from, Tom?
I was born in Franklin, Kentucky. So you folks at 862, I am a Kentuckian. But my parents moved from Kentucky when I was at a very young age, and I was reared in a little small town called Livingston, Tennessee, about 50 miles south of the Kentucky border here in Middle Tennessee. So a little small town, grew up in a small town, and that's where I went to grade school and high school and pretty much stayed there the whole time.
That sounds great. Now, do you have any family members who are involved in unions or involved in the UAW over the years?
Yes, matter of fact, I'm first generation UAW in my whole entire family. And my son is the vice president of a local 1407, Cookeville, Tennessee, a little small IPS facility called Fleet Guard. So second generation, and then later on, my sister was hired there too, and that's my representation in the union.
Okay, so is that where you went to work and where you got involved in the UAW was Fleet Guard?
I started at Fleet Guard in 1970, right after Dr. King was assassinated. He really opened up everything in the South. And so Fleet Guard is a company that migrated to Cookeville, Tennessee from Seymour, Indiana. They started there in 1967 as an IPS filtration plant. In 1968, they formed a union. And so in 1970, I went to work there. They had an HR person there by the name of Tom Hughes, who was a graduate of Notre Dame, African American. He was hiring anybody who was qualified in my community, especially people of color. He was giving them an open invitation. If you want a job, come to this plant. So I started there in 1970, right out of high school.
So how many years did you end up having, or did you work at Fleet Guard?
It's funny that you say that. I was thinking about that. Um, Fleet Guard is the only job I've ever had. So I started there in 1970, and that's the one and only job that I've had, And then I participated in a lot of ways in that plant, but I've been a UAW member all my life and worked in the UAW facility all my life.
So what was your first full-time UAW position?
Okay, my first full-time UAW position was I started off. I was on the executive board. It was my position. I was elected as a guide. Right after I got out of the military, I came back to the plant and I was elected as guide. And then later on, I held every position in my plant, but in my union executive board, except um, treasurer and president. So I was guide, sergeant at arms, recording secretary, and vice president of my local.
So of all the roles that you've had in the UAW over the years, what was your most challenging role, would you say?
I'd say that my most challenging role that I had was in 2002. I came on staff under Ron Gettelfinger, a person from 862, through Gary Castile, as he recommended me for appointment. And of course, Ron okayed it. But I guess my greatest challenge was as a UAW organizer. And to go to a facility and start from scratch to educate and motivate a group of people to where it translates into them saying that I want to be in a union, it was a big obstacle. But it's very gratifying to do that because, I'm an advocate for collective bargaining and I believe that people are better off. So the biggest challenge was to talk to a person that did not know anything about the UAW, but to also make an assessment of them and to talk to them the difference in non-union and union to the point where they say, I think that I would like to be union to address my wages, benefits, and working conditions, to have a contract versus a handbook. That was very gratifying, but it was something that was hard to achieve. But once you get it down pat, you really have a chance to help workers help themselves be in a union. That's the most challenging and also the most gratifying of all of them.
So kind of bringing everybody up to speed to today and what's happening in the country in general and in states today. What do you think of states like Florida that are changing courses and banning courses in school like AP African American Studies, and they've supported new Black history standards, quote unquote? What's your opinion of the changing states that are changing curriculums and at least attempting to alter Black history?
I think it's a very, 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 very sad, unfortunate thing. And as a person of color, it's really the end of the world as we know it. So things have changed in less than a decade. As you know, um, you know, I would be excited to know about Harriet Tubman. I would be excited to know about W.B. Du Bois. I would be excited to learn and to pass on information to kids to and white kids to where they understand where we came from. And I think that you're only as good as your history, but to know that there is a group of people out here uh, in the legislative halls of state capitals and governments that that turn the victories of the civil rights movement and having conversation about them to this thing called wokeness. They've hijacked the word woke. Uh, I know what the word means, and they have misinterpreted it, and they're selling wokeness, and it's really a sad testimony. So, and they're able to do it because they have, super majorities, and they can just about pass anything that they want. But to know that they're banning books, and they say that if you if you young kids, um, if you talk about slavery, that you would make the white kid feel bad. He or she would be the oppressor, and then the black kid would look at them as the oppressor, and it would create animosity. It doesn't even work like that. There's a certain way that you can present a story to where it is accepted, and really it would brew compassion out of the whole situation. That's my feelings on it. It's a sad thing, and Walter Reuther said that you cannot separate the bread box from the ballot box. And so, me being a member of the NAACP, we hang our hats on taking people on voting. I think that the only way you're going to change it is taking your souls to the polls. That's where I stand on it. I think it's bad.
Okay. Switching gears here, tell us about your shirt.
I am an activist, and and I'll be forever grateful to the UAW because they're the reason that I am the way that I am today. But this is John Lewis. He said we should make good trouble and necessary trouble. And so my grandkids say, "Papa, why are you always wearing this John Lewis gear?" It's a message that when it's a talking point. And so when people see this shirt, they say, necessary trouble, I like that. Good trouble, I like that. And then we start having conversation about what is good trouble. It's good trouble to take your souls to the polls. It's good trouble and necessary trouble to enlighten another brother or sister about the things that are going on in the world today, so it can be a teaching moment, not beating people down with it, but we are to make good trouble and necessary trouble. So I try to wear something, this gear, I have hoodies and everything, but I'm not just wearing it because I think I'm styling and profiling. I'm wearing it in honor of John Lewis and what he stood for. He's not here with us today, but his message, I'm keeping his message going. And so it's all about turning other folk into John Lewis. John Lewis is gone. We need other leaders to come forward and to carry the mantle and press on. So that's my story on this. I love it.
Well, thank you very much for telling us the story about your shirt. Well, there you have it, sisters and brothers. Go out there and make good trouble. As always, Tom, thank you very much for joining us and talking with us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your, I'm sure it's a busy schedule being a retiree, to come over here and talk with us.
Well, thank you for having me. And I think this is good trouble. And if I'm talking to all my brothers and sisters in the UAW, I'm grateful for being a UAW member. The best thing that ever happened to me in a little small town was to be a UAW member and to be able to take advantage of the resources within our union. I wouldn't know what good trouble is if the UAW had not sent me to certain areas of our state where good trouble even came up at, whether it be in Mississippi or Alabama, talking to veterans of the civil rights movement. I'll be forever grateful to the UAW for the Civil Rights 101. So thank you for having me.
That's going to do it for this special edition of 862 Live, sisters and brothers. Until next time, solidarity.